Hi, in this video I'm going to cover another strategy that I found on YouTube, and I will show you how do we build the same strategy on Tradetron. So this strategy is from a video that I found of a very famous YouTube channel called Power of Stocks. So let's see how this strategy can be built on Tradetron, and as usual I will be sharing the link of this YouTube channel in the description along with the duplicate link for my strategy, so that you can have a look at this strategy, duplicate it, test it, play around with the numbers, and then improve your trading setup. So let's first explore what this strategy is trying to do. So this strategy is a strategy where we are taking a long as well as a long trade and a short trade. So the long trade criteria is basically checking for conditions on a 5-minute candle, and the short trade is basically checking for conditions on a 15-minute candle. So when we look at a long trade or a short trade, in the case of a long trade, we will be taking a buy call, and in the case of a short trade, we are going to buy a put. So this is the logic that we are trying to achieve. Now out here, we are our entry point is a point where we are mainly looking at the EMA line. So let's assume if this is the EMA line, the black line, we are now going to look for a particular candle, like a candle out here. This candle has to be not touching this EMA line. So there has to be some amount of difference between the EMA value and the candle that we are looking. So this candle, the yellow candle that you see, is now our trigger candle. We are not very concerned about the color of the candle. It should mainly not touch the EMA line, and it should be above the EMA line. After we find our trigger candle, we are now going to look at the next candle, and we want that the next candle breaks the low of the yellow candle. So only if the next candle breaks the low of the yellow candle is when we will take a short trade, and vice versa for the long trade. So in a long trade, we will do exactly the opposite. Only we are looking at a candle which is below the EMA line, and if it is below the line, and it is not touching the line, the high is not touching the line, and the next candle, the very next candle breaks the high of the of that trigger candle, in that case we will take a trade. Only thing, this setup is on a 15-minute candle, and the short setup will be on a 5-minute candle. With that understood, let me first walk you through the entire strategy that we are planning to build. So out here, I will first show you my entry conditions. So in my entry conditions, I mainly have a position detail. Now position detail will mainly look at, will make sure that you are taking an entry only when there is no other open position. So it will make sure that you have only one trade open at a time. After that, we are looking at a time criteria. So my time conditions are there to make sure that my first entry happens only after the first 5-minute candle is formed. I don't want to take a trade based on the yesterday's candle. So this is the logic that I'm trying to build. Now I have one condition which is basically an absolute condition. So my absolute condition will mainly make sure that there is a difference between the EMA line. So if this is the EMA line and this is the candle that I'm looking at, there has to be at least 1 point difference between the low of that candle, which you see out here. The low and the EMA has to have at least a 1 point difference. And after that, finally, I'm checking if the low is basically above the EMA, because I want to take a short trade only if the low of the candle is more than the EMA. So it is more than, if the low is more and there is a difference. And after that, finally, I'm checking that the next candle breaks the low of our trigger candle. If that happens, in that case, I am going to take a trade. So this is the logic that we are trying to build. If this situation happens, I will take a long trade in a put. So my set 1 is mainly for my put trade. Now my put entry is quite a straightforward buy option in Bank Nifty. Now I have an exit condition. So my exit condition, as per what is shown in the video, is that if in case I have taken an entry based on a particular trigger candle's low being broken, I have to look at the high of the same candle. So I am looking at this particular high value of the candle. If the high of the candle is breached, if any candle breaches this high value of the candle, in that case I am going to take my stop loss and I am going to exit. So this is the condition that I have built for that particular high value. Now the next condition is basically my RR. So RR stands for the risk to reward that I am looking at. So let's say if I'm going to risk 10 points, I want a reward of at least 20 points to justify a 2:1 RR. So that is the RR logic that I'm trying to build. Now in order to keep the RR flexible, what I have used is that I've used a number 3 out here. So as per my logic, we are going to have at least a 3:1 RR risk reward ratio. But I can leave it up to you. So when you duplicate the strategy, you can change this number to whatever you like. So if you think a 3:1 risk reward is fair for you, then you can go ahead with a number 3. If you think that something like 2:1 would make more sense to you, then you can use something like 2 or 1 or 0.5, whatever. So this number is something that you can change yourself, and I would encourage you to test this with different numbers, see what matches your risk appetite, and based on that use this particular strategy. So my target condition out here is that if the price goes in our direction, but it goes in our direction more than the amount of points that I was risking at from my entry price to the high price, in that case I will take a trade. So this is the logic that I have built based on the strategy that I have found from Power of Stocks. So my runtime variables out here are that I am capturing the PE underscore high as the high value of my entry candle, and I'm capturing the PE underscore low as the low value of the entry candle. Using these runtime variables, I will be able to capture the high and low price point that I had taken my entry on of that particular candle of Bank Nifty. I will now show you the runtime variables that I have generated for my exit conditions. Now again, as you can see out here, I'm using my PE underscore high and PE underscore low, the same variable name, and I'm assigning a value of 0 to it. By assigning this 0 value, I'm making sure that I'm purging the variable after my exit has taken place, so that this variable doesn't interfere with any other part of my logic. So my set 2 conditions are pretty much the same. I'm using very similar conditions, just that I have changed the candle size to 15 minutes. Other than that, everything is the same, and I'm taking my long trades based on my set 2. So my set 2 is taking my trade for my call. Otherwise, the logic is pretty much the same. Again, in my exit condition of set 2, you'll again find the number. So whenever your RR, whatever RR you want, like let's say if you need a 3:1 risk reward, you can just select 3 out here, or you can change it based on your particular risk profile. And finally, I have my universal exit out here and my advanced settings set up this way. As usual, I have kept the link to duplicate the strategy available in the description. Feel free to duplicate the strategy, test it, experiment with different numbers, different values, and based on that, improvise on your trading setup on Tradetron. If you have any other suggestions on what we should cover in future videos, feel free to drop it in the comments below. And if you have specific questions, we may not be able to address it in the comment section, feel free to drop it to us on support@Tradetron.tech, and I would be happy to help you with your questions about your individual strategies. So thank you very much. Until the next time, goodbye.